theory. Game theory, my favorite. So recently I saw this video called, Game Theory's video about Shadow the Hedgehog being a genie, and I saw that and I cried. Yes, and before you ask, yes, I got angry watching this, and yes, I will go through the whole video and describe about why this video is dumb. This isn't like the Sans is Ness territory. This is how bad this video is. This is how bad it gets, man. I swear, after MatPat left, the guy who does game theory now has more deranged takes than MatPat does sometimes. But anyway, let's get straight into this. No intro, let's go.
Move over, Sonic. Shadow the Hedgehog is making a comeback. He's finally getting a brand new game, and he's the star villain in the new movie. Voiced by...
We're just gonna skip over this and get to the main point. Just skip that.
Never really explained. Shadow the Hedgehog is actually an all-powerful genie. No, don't go anywhere. I promise you I'm not crazy. Okay.
No, you're crazy, man. You're crazy. I don't know what it is, but it's like, after MatPat left, it's like, the host doesn't have the same effect anymore to me. Like, when MatPat said something dumb, it was actually kind of charming and endearing, but it's like, now it's just like some dude I don't care about, so it doesn't work. I don't really get the enjoyment out of this video I would have if MatPat was here, like, cause I could laugh at MatPat being dumb, but this is just like, I don't care territory. It's just that I love Shadow the Hedgehog, he's one of my favorite characters of all time, and to see him be called a genie with no proof whatsoever, and doing that thing again where they just make assumptions about characters they know nothing about because they read like a wiki entry or something, it's like, come on, man. Like, if you actually were a fan of Shadow the Hedgehog, you wouldn't have made this theory. You know that it's stupid, and you're just making this video because Shadow the Hedgehog is a popular IP property right now because of the TV show. You know, don't, come on.
Hey, maybe I am, but not about this. He may not be big and blue, but he certainly shares a lot of his powers and stories with genies from across modern media, folktales, and mythology. Him being a genie also fits within the established canon of the Sonic universe. I recognize I'm not really helping with the whole crazy thing, so tell you what, listen to the evidence I found, and if I can convince you that Shadow is a genie by the end of this episode, you have to promise me that you'll hit that subscribe button. If nobody subscribes, then I'll know I fully lost the plot. But,
well, to be fair, I unsubscribed like 4 years ago, so I don't think this video is going to convince me to subscribe. No, Shadow is not a genie. Come on, man, this is like, what do you mean it's in the canon of Sonic the Hedgehog? Yes, they took inspiration from genies, because there's literally a alien in the series that is inspired off of genies, but it's not actually a genie. Literally, in Shadow the Hedgehog lore, it is said that Shadow is an alien creature. Like, why fuck me, man. Okay, so you could be saying, oh, but he could be a magical alien genie, which doesn't make any fucking sense. But you could make that argument, I guess. But let's just keep watching. This video's dumb.
That's not gonna happen because I really do think we're onto something here. So grab your Chaos Emeralds and Magic Carpets, friends, because it is time for us to live and learn Shadow's true origins. Before I get into the crazy part, let's do a quick refresh on Shadow. He was first introduced to us in the game Sonic Adventure 2 for the Sega Dreamcast. It starts with Eggman infiltrating an underground military base in search of a weapon that he can use for world domination, Project Shadow. It's been sealed away for 50 years, but he uses a password, gets in, and finds our angsty hedgehog locked away inside. Shadow awakens, and after escaping, he supplies Eggman with access to the Space Colony Ark, an abandoned military base orbiting Earth that can serve as Eggman's palace from which he can rule over his Eggman empire. As time goes on, Shadow clashes with our main group of heroes, though he easily outmatches them. He reveals his ability to use the Chaos Emeralds to teleport, breaking into an underground prison to free his Rule 34 treasure-stealing ally, Rouge. Eventually, Shadow gathers all of the Chaos Emeralds and betrays Eggman, sending the Ark plummeting towards Earth. It turns out that Shadow was actually tasked with destroying humanity after the military raided the Ark and killed Shadow's only friend, Maria. But just before everything goes to hell, Shadow regains a crucial memory.
Shadow.
Despite knowing what was going to happen, Maria actually wanted Shadow to help humanity, not destroy them. This causes Shadow to shift gears. He destroys the giant lizard, goes Super Saiyan, destroys the giant lizard again, and saves the day, sacrificing himself in the process. Only to...
So this proves what exactly? All it's proving is that he just uses the same abilities as Sonic, except I guess more angsty and cool. Like, if Shadow was a genie, wouldn't he just use, I don't know, magic? Because genies are mythical, magical beings that live in lamps? Yes, genies are a canon thing in the Sonic universe. It doesn't fucking mean Shadow was a genie. That's so stupid. Like, we haven't even gone to your main point yet, and I already have an issue with this. Already from Shadow's backstory, we can see that he's not a fucking genie. He was created by an alien race. it's explained in Shadow the Hedgehog where this alien race came from and how he was created, and he was actually created by Dr. Eggman himself. He was just upgraded, I guess, but it's like, no. If Shadow was a genie, wouldn't he come out of a bottle or something? Wouldn't he use magic? Like actual magic or mage magic or something? Because there are characters in Sonic that use actual magic, and clearly Sonic doesn't use, Shadow doesn't use fucking magic. He's just Sonic. Like, the point of Shadow is that he's just supposed to be Sonic's rival. Like, he's not supposed to be a magical whatever you want to call him, you know? I don't know. I don't know how you can think he's a genie. I just don't understand. Like, I know we haven't made it that far in the video, but I'm already, like, having a problem with this. Like, especially since I know the Shadow lore and stuff like that, and it's just, like, I don't know how you could think he's a magical being when he was just literally birthed right there in a test tube. That doesn't make any fucking sense.
Show up again in almost every game since. That's a gross oversimplification, and there's a lot more to Shadow's story beyond this one game. However, it's more than enough for us to start connecting the dots with this whole genie thing. In fact, this game lines up...
How? How is it connected to the genie thing? All you've proven is that he was born from a test tube and he wasn't even...
pretty darn well with one of the most famous stories about a genie to ever exist. You may have heard of it. It's called Aladdin. No, I'm not talking about the Disney version. I'm talking about the original Aladdin story from the Arabian Nights. Although, could you imagine if Robin Williams was the voice of Shadow?
Genie of the lamp!
Rest in peace.
Okay. That actually would be kind of funny if Shadow was voiced by Robin Williams. I mean, it wouldn't have the same effect, and it would kind of ruin his character, what they're going for, but that would be generally hilarious. I'm not gonna lie.
You talented soul. Anyway, the original Aladdin story follows an evil magician as he seeks out the genie of the lamp. With it, he will be able to have any wish he desires granted. The genie is locked away in a cave underground and can only be accessed by muttering some magic words. Are you starting to see the connection? Aladdin is then sent by the magician to steal as much treasure as he can, only to end up trapped in this underground cave of wonders. After a couple of days, he is saved by a genie who teleports him back to the surface. From there, he goes on to do what you might expect. Make some wishes, fall in love with a princess, and become a prince. Though, when the evil magician returns, he is able to retrieve the lamp from Aladdin, and the first thing the genie does for him is provide a stolen palace and puts it in a remote part of Africa, away from everything and everyone. In both cases, we have our magical character locked away underground. The villain needs to use magic words to access them, and the magic character then gives the villain a stolen building to use as their base of operations far away from everyone. We even have a treasure thief being freed from the underground place by the magical character. The dark story from Sonic Adventure 2 mirrors that of the genie and the evil magician beat for beat. I mean...
my favorite of the game theory videos, circumstantial evidence. Hi, circumstantial evidence. Nice to meet you. Haven't seen you in forever. Yes, they inspired Shadow's backstory off of genies, but he's not an actual genie. There's no proof of this at all. Like, yes, there are some... inspiration. That's all I can say, really. Like, it's circumstantial evidence at best. It reminds me of that theory in Pokemon Black and White where people were saying that N is actually a Zorok because he had the same hair or something, and he could talk to Pokemon, and it's like, that's just circumstantial evidence, and it was like a tool to mirror N's character or something, or whatever, you know? Like, you know, I don't know. It's stupid. But it's like, circumstantial evidence. Stop using circumstantial evidence. I hate when game theory does this. It's like they do that for the Sans and Ness theory. Ooh, actually, Ness is actually Sans because Sans has a badge in his drawer, and that's the Franklin badge. And it's like, do you have any proof of this?
Technically, in the original Aladdin story, it's the genie of the ring that frees Aladdin, not the genie of the lamp, but in other retellings, including Disney's, they combine the two, so I'm still gonna count it. Sonic Team didn't stop there with the genie inspiration, though. In other stories, the genies tell us that they've been locked away for many, many years by the time they are released. In the story Dragon Bones, it's for, quote, hundreds of years. In the movie 3,000 Years of Longing, it's, well, 3,000 years. And then, of course, there's the classic Disney adaptation of Aladdin, where we get this iconic line.
10,000 years will give you such a crick in the neck.
He's just so good. Will Smith could never. Shadow, likewise, was locked away for a very long time. Maybe not long by genie standards, but 50 years is still a decent chunk of time to be bottled up underground. Speaking of being locked away, while the reason for the genie's imprisonment varies from story to story, it usually comes from them rebelling against a powerful ruler or sorcerer, like King Solomon in the City of Brass. Because these genies are so powerful, they are considered a threat, and so they get sealed away to keep them from using their powers for evil. Throughout history, genies have also been depicted to wear gold bangles. While this was common for those with power and wealth at the time, in a lot of modern interpretations of genies, these bangles are depicted depicted more like shackles, a representation of their imprisonment and the restrictions placed on their power. Shadow was also locked away because the people in charge, the military, were afraid that he would become too powerful and that he would eventually rebel against them. And if you take a look at Shadow, do you notice anything about his design? Gold bangles. In the lore, these are called inhibitor rings, and you'll never guess what they do. They are there to physically inhibit and restrict Shadow's overwhelming power. But these rings aren't only restricting his power. Just like a genie, they are also symbolic of Shadow being bound to serve the desires of others. I mean, when Shadow first awakened, he literally says,
"Since you were so kind to release me, my master, I will grant you one wish."
Seriously, who else says that other than a genie? I know some of you might say that Shadow is being facetious here. I mean, just look at that smirk. And when it comes to Eggman, you very well may be right. Shadow does end up betraying him after all, but that's because he was already bound by the wishes of someone else. The thing that drives Shadow in Sonic Adventure 2 is his promise to carry out the final wish of Maria. As I've
Okay, I know that was a lot, but bear with me here. Let's break this down. So first of all, I guess if you're not a fan of Sonic the Hedgehog or you don't know anything about Shadow's backstory, you could well believe this. Let me break it down for you. First of all, if you know anything about Shadow's backstory, again, he was created by an alien. He's organic matter. Genies are mythical, magical, demonic beings. So that throws the theory right out the window because, again, Shadow is like he's I don't know how to explain it. He's not human. He's organic. He's a thing you can hold in your hand. He's got blood cells and shit. He's a living breathing animal. He's not a magic being that comes from a lamp. Second of all, again, it's just inspiration. They inspired Shadow off of genies and genie lore. And again, like you said, it could just be him just making fun of Eggman. And again, if you know the backstory, Eggman created Shadow. Like what the fuck? So you're telling me that that Eggman created a being that could just grant him a wish? Like, why? Also, it wasn't Eggman, it's actually Robotnik, but whatever, it doesn't matter. Like, it's whatever, you know, Gerald Robotnik, not Eggman. It's like, I know people can get that confused, but he was created by somebody. That's what I'm saying. He was like, Shadow the Hedgehog was literally created as an experiment to cure Maria from like a disease or something or whatever, which is why Shadow became her best friend or something like that. And then you had, you know, the United Federation, you know, Project Shadow or whatever. And, you know, they were keeping Shadow because he was like the key to immortality or whatever. Who gives a shit? It doesn't have anything to do with magic. Again, Shadow was created by the DNA of Black Doom, an evil alien. An alien, not a magic genie. And yes, the fucking alien looks a lot like a genie. That doesn't mean he is. I don't understand. Like, we're like 6 minutes into this video. This is an 18-minute video. 6 minutes in, and you've proved nothing. I can't. This is so bad. He's just word soup at this point. Oh, you see, his Shadow is a genie because his backstory is very similar. Again, circumstantial evidence at best. It doesn't fucking mean anything. Moving on.
He mistakes this wish to mean enacting vengeance on humanity, but as he remembers more and more, he realizes that she really wanted him to save humanity so that they could pursue their own dreams and wishes as well. Easy mistake to make, happens to me all the time. He does then go on to save the day, sacrificing himself for humanity. And when Sonic returns to the Ark after the fight, he reveals the only thing left of Shadow is one of his inhibitor rings.
Okay, quick little thing about Maria too, about the wish shit. It's like, you realize Maria was his best friend, right? Like, of course he's gonna respect what she wants. It's like, I don't even think she said for him to grant her a wish. She just said, hey, can you like not kill humans because I like you a lot and we're friends? And I'm not evil. Like, the whole point of my character existing is to give Shadow the Hedgehog leverage to not be evil. Like, that's the whole point of her character. It's not to be some like wish granting person. I just wanted to put that in there.
Some genie interpretations, like the Dancing River Gods or 3,000 Years of Longing, a genie isn't actually freed by their master wishing for their freedom. Instead, they become free simply by fulfilling the wishes of their master, which is exactly what Shadow does at the end of the game. He fulfilled Maria's final wish. He saved humanity, and so he shed his bangles. He is no longer chained, no longer a prisoner. He has finally been freed from his duty. So, have I convinced you Shadow is a genie? Have you hit that subscribe button yet? There are just too many connections here for this to not be what Sonic Team intended.
Circumstantial evidence. And what wish did he grant exactly? Because if he could just grant the wish, why didn't he just, like, do it? Like, just snap his fingers and grant the wish? He had to go in and fight for it? Like, you understand how genies work, right? Like, you imagine if in Aladdin, instead of the genie just snapping his fingers and wish, he had to actually fight Jafar or something like that. Like, that's pretty much what he's implying, is that in order for Shadow's wish to be granted, he had to go and fight. He had to turn into the big Super Saiyan thing that he had to kill the big boss at the end. And how did he save humanity exactly? Like, he saved humanity from one threat, I guess. But humanity has continued to be threatened throughout the Sonic series. This is not some, like, one occasion where Shadow was like, oh, yay, I solved all the problems of humanity. Humanity is safe. Like, no. It's so dumb.
Intended for Shadow to be a genie. However, I'm sure there are some of you out there that are deep into the Shadow lore, and you're not convinced for one very specific reason. I've only spoken about his first game. 4 years after Sonic Adventure 2, Shadow's own solo title was released, Shadow the Hedgehog. In it, Shadow tries to regain all of his memories, exploring his origins in more depth, and in doing so, he discovers that he is not a genie, but rather an alien. If this is your first time hearing that, no, I'm not joking. Shadow is canonically an alien. How does that work? Well, it turns out the only reason Eggman's grandfather was able to make Shadow was thanks to some help from an alien overlord, Black Doom. And so, Black Doom's alien blood runs through Shadow's veins. If Shadow was meant to be a genie originally, clearly Sonic Team retconned it to make him an alien instead, because that is so much less weird. So, there you have it, theory busted. Or is it? Don't worry, I'm not going to try and disprove the alien thing. That would be crazy. Black Doom.
No, you can't do that. You can't just be like, oh, the Sonic Team intended for him to be an alien. Just be like, no, we're not gonna debunk him being an alien, but he's still a genie, guys. He's still a genie. Like, no, that's not how that works. You can't do that. You can't fucking do that.
Is in Shadow Generations, so they're definitely sticking with that storyline. Instead, what I'm suggesting is that, according to the lore of the Sonic universe, Shadow being an alien doesn't technically stop him also being a genie. A year after Shadow the Hedgehog, another Sonic game was released called Sonic Riders. It's a spin-off racing game where Sonic and his friends ride hoverboards and compete in tournaments. Yet, despite its spin-off status, it is still considered canon. In that game, we are introduced to a new race of beings, the Babylonians. They are an ancient civilization that possessed immensely powerful technology that blurred the lines between magic and science. One of their finest technological creations was, and I'm being completely serious, a flying carpet. Once again, we're seeing Sonic Team bringing in connections from the Arabian Nights. Although it's actually from the tale of Ahmed and Parabanu, not Aladdin like Disney would have you believe. The place they find this magic carpet also looks like it's straight out of Arabian Nights, and the final boss has all the key features you'd expect of a classic genie. Cuffs, ghostly bottom half, even a lamp. But the big thing is that when the gang finds this magic carpet, Sonic's new rival Jet, a descendant from the Babylonians, says this.
I never imagined that we Babylonians could be descendants of real genies.
Genies not only exist in the Sonic canon, but their descendants can also be anthropomorphic animals. However, at the end of the sequel, Sonic Riders Zero Gravity, the explanation of what this race is changes slightly.
But the people of Babylon...
I can't believe they were the descendants of aliens.
Is that another retcon by the Sonic Team turning genies into aliens? What have you guys got against genies? Well, it's not quite that simple. In Sonic Riders, what they're showing us is how myths work in the real world. Before the huge advancements in science, technology, and travel, there were many things humans couldn't explain. And so we created myths to help us make sense of the world around us. Tales of magical creatures or gods that would explain things like natural phenomena that we otherwise couldn't. Now, as science has developed and more information comes to light, we begin to understand the truth behind the myths. For example, in Japanese mythology, there's a yokai called Namazu, a giant catfish whose unruly tail causes earthquakes. This idea was thought to have come from fishermen that noticed catfish acting strange during an earthquake, and so made the connection between the two. The catfish...
So you're probably thinking, oh, Anna, you just debunked your whole video. He literally said in the video that there's genies and Sonic Runners is canon, except that's all completely false and Sonic Runners is not canon. I have no idea where he got this information, but Sonic Runners is not canon. It hasn't been canon for years, and it's still not canon in 2024. Stop using Sonic Runners as a way to say that Shadow is a genie. It's not canon. And just because it was made by the Sonic team doesn't make it fucking canon. I hate people that use that argument. Oh, but the Sonic team made it. Okay, then that would make Mario Tennis canon, and it's not canon. Stop using Sonic Runners as a source. It's not canon. It isn't. And Sonic Team, you can't even use that argument because Sonic Team constantly changes what's canon and what isn't. But the ones that have been consistent is Sonic Runners and Sonic Prim, which are not canon. And until the Sonic Team says otherwise, they're not canon, so don't use them as a source. But again, the Sonic canon changes all the fucking time, so how we even know Sonic, like, Shadow the Hedgehog is even canon? Who knows? Like, they're always changing what's canon in the Sonic franchise, which is why no one cares about Sonic anymore, so whatever.
Must be causing this. But as time has gone on, scientists have discovered that it wasn't the catfish causing the earthquakes, they were just sensitive to the electrical changes in the earth, and so 80% of the time would freak out a few hours before an earthquake would occur, dispelling that original myth. That's exactly what we see happening in Sonic Riders. These Babylonians were a powerful, technologically advanced society, and the rest of the Sonic world couldn't really understand them. So they saw them as magic, creating the mythos of genies. But as we explore more of their history and technology in the second game, we're being shown the truth behind that mythology. So what we might see as mythological genies are actually advanced alien species in the Sonic universe. And Black Doom, Shadow's alien daddy, is no different. Firstly, there are the obvious visual connections that Black Doom shares with genies. He has gold bands around his wrists at the end of his cloak. He clearly skipped leg day and just floats above the ground. He's also wearing a number of different jewels and symbols, one of which is a crescent moon with a jewel inside it. This bears a striking resemblance to the crescent and star symbol from Islam, although this symbol has also been used across history throughout the Middle East and ancient Arabia, the same place the Arabian Nights and the stories of genies originate. But really, the thing that shows us that Black Doom and Shadow are not only aliens but also genies comes from an in-universe legend about the Babylonians.
I found a story about a boy who received an angel wing from the Babylonians as a gift. The story says that with it, the boy was able to rule the world.
A character was given wings by the Babylonians, genie aliens. That's not something we've ever really seen in Sonic. That is, until the trailers of Sonic X Shadow Generations.
I'll take this power and use it as my own.
We see Shadow being taken over by Black Doom's gross alien tentacles, giving Shadow new alien powers, including wings. Shadow is the boy from the legend. He was given wings by a race of alien genies, Black Doom. It's also worth noting that during Sonic Riders, Tails mentions a different legend about the Babylonians and how they angered the gods, causing.
Now again, this is the strongest piece of evidence we have, and again, if you don't know a lot about Sonic lore or about what's canon, you could believe that Shadow is a genie. Even I was kind of taken aback the first time I seen this. Then I figured out that Sonic Runners wasn't canon and it destroyed this whole theory. First of all, you're taking this off of a trailer, like an edited trailer. It doesn't mean anything. Like, how a trailer can be edited can deceive you. Like, does anyone remember the Last of Us 2 trailer? And how people thought that Delia was gonna die or something, but it turned out that wasn't the case. That's just because it was edited, people thought it was that. Now, I could be wrong. They probably took inspiration from the story of Sonic Runners to make a new game, but that doesn't mean that Shadow is a genie. Again, I could be wrong. Maybe Sonic Runners is canon. Again, they probably just took inspiration from it. Because Sonic Runners hasn't been touched in years, man. Like, why all of a sudden would they want to do something with it? And I'm not saying that's not possible. There have been games in the past where they have taken things from past games and tried to make something out of it. But this is Sonic we're talking about, you know? Like, they don't really keep up with the lore. They don't really keep up with the canon, you know? They decide what's canon and what isn't, you know? On a whim, they could decide that Shadow the Hedgehog isn't canon anymore. You know, you never know, right? Again, I could be wrong. You know, this is the strongest piece of evidence we have. Again, it's kind of circumstantial. It's a little convenient. I'm not fully believing it, I mean, you can believe it all you want, but I don't believe it, you know? It's a little too convenient, and it's a little too circumstantial for me, you know? Again, they probably took inspiration from the story in one of their games, because there have been games that have done that, but that doesn't mean Shadow's a genie, you know? There's too much evidence to prove against it to me, you know? Especially when you learn that certain games aren't canon and certain games are, you know? Again, Shadow isn't a genie, like, he's organic material, you know? Until we have proof that Black Doom is part of these alien races, and until we have proof that Sonic Runners is canon, I don't think they're genies. They just took inspiration from genies, you know? So I don't believe it personally, but again, you could believe it. It's all up to you. So let's move on.
Them to be scattered and never found again. While he's telling the story, we see a mural, but the image of the god destroying the Babylonians is nearly identical to the one Eggman showed us about the boy with the angel wing. This would imply that the boy the Babylonians gave their power to went on to use that same power against them. Shadow has also done this. At the very end of Shadow the Hedgehog, even though he was given life and power by Black Doom, Shadow uses that same power to destroy Black Doom and his army. And now, in Shadow Generations, he's going to be doing it all again. He's going to defeat Black Doom with these new powers that Black Doom has given him. And that, my friends, brings us back around full circle. By defeating Black Doom, Shadow is going to finally end his genie arc. Because the one thing that you see across many interpretations of genies is they all long for one thing: freedom. But didn't I say that he was freed at the end of Sonic Adventure 2? He fulfilled Maria's wish, he saved humanity, he shed the shackles that showed his servitude to others. But then, what do we see in his other appearances? Shadow is still wearing his gold rings. If he's free, why is he still chained? Is it for the same reason as Genie in the Aladdin sequels?
Only thing I'm a slave to is fashion! These things go great with a tasteful string of pearls.
I mean, yeah, probably. He wouldn't really look like Shadow without them. But it does also act as further symbolism. Ultimately, Shadow is still a slave. Not to a lamp or a specific master, but to his past. Thanks to the supernatural being the Time Eater, the original Sonic Generations was all about having a grand old time cruising down memory lane. For Shadow, though, it's a very different story. His past isn't all sunshine and following his rainbow. It's full of pain and suffering that he has tried desperately to move on from. However, this game is going to bring all of that back to the surface, showing that while he may have thought he moved on, those memories, those people, they still have power over him. All of Shadow's greatest foes are due to return in this game, but I suspect the greatest one Shadow will have to overcome isn't going to be Black Doom, or Mephiles from Sonic 06, or even Sonic for old time's sake. It's going to be the one whose loss sent him on this path in the first place, Maria. No, she's not going to be some secret final boss, but as we see in the story trailer, seeing her again is going to be a shock for Shadow. While he absolutely wants to erase Black Doom from all of time and space, I could see him weighing up the idea of not saving the day this time. If he doesn't fix the weird time and space mess caused by the Time Eater, he can stay with Maria. They could just be together forever, outside of time. But if Shadow wants to be free, and I mean truly free, he's going to have to reject that offer. At the end of the day, Maria's wish was to save humanity. He's going to have to fix everything, and that means saying goodbye to Maria one last time, once again fulfilling her wish, and finally shedding his chains of trauma and gaining what every genie wants: freedom. Maybe then we'll finally get to see the full power of Shadow unleashed. Hopefully.
Again, I know that's a lot, but let's break this down. First of all, him having Black Doom's powers has nothing to do with the Babylonians in general, to be honest. It's Black Doom's power. Now, you could say that if Sonic Runners was canon, this theory could hold a little bit more weight because there are genies in the universe if Runners was canon, but that still doesn't mean that Shadow is a genie. It just means he has Black Doom's abilities, and it's not even confirmed that Black Doom is part of these Babylonian people anyway, especially since, you know, Sonic Runners came out after Shadow the Hedgehog. I don't know. This theory seems a little far-fetched for me, especially when you know that one of these games aren't even tied to the lore at all. Besides, it is confirmed that these powers Shadows has is just from Black Doom's DNA. It's not from any magical, mystical anything. Again, circumstantial at best. This theory was dumb. There was no supporting evidence aside from maybe strong pieces from a trailer and you know, maybe if one of the games was canon, but again, these don't hold any weight, especially when the trailer is just a trailer. The powers aren't from a mystical, magical thing. It's literally just from Dark Doom's powers, especially since, you know, it's part of Shadow's DNA or whatever. Doesn't mean he's a magical being. Again, Sonic Runners is not canon. So, with that out of the way, let me put up this interesting little Reddit post that also tries to debunk this theory, because like this person, I think the theory is stupid. Anyway, here's the post.
Based on what I've taken away from the game theory video and my current knowledge and research of Shadow's backstory in the universe, I don't think Shadow the Hedgehog is meant to be seen as a genie, as suggested by the video. Although there are similarities between Shadow's story and typical genie characteristics, these connections seem more coincidental than intentional upon closer examination. The video discusses how Shadow's backstory in Sonic Adventure 2 parallels the genie's tale in the Aladdin story, both featuring a magical figure imprisoned underground that the villain must access with specific incantations before obtaining a stolen structure to serve as their headquarters far from civilization. However, this analogy might be oversimplifying the connection between the two narratives. When Shadow was imprisoned and freed by Eggman, the parallels ceased there. Shadow wasn't obligated to obey Eggman and eventually turned against him, unlike a genie forced to fulfill their master's desires. The video also mentions Shadow's inhibitor rings as a sign of his genie status. It suggests that they represent his obligation to fulfill others' wishes, a claim not backed by the game narratives. In reality, the inhibitor rings act as barriers that curb Shadow's strength rather than as restraints of servitude. When taken off, the removal enhances Shadow's abilities but also leads to quicker exhaustion. These rings symbolize Shadow's necessity to manage his power, rather than being symbols of captivity or enslavement. In the theory discussed further, there is the notion that Shadow's extraterrestrial background doesn't rule out his genie status, because the video suggests that in the Sonic world, what we perceive as mythical genies are advanced alien beings. The support for this argument is drawn from Riders, where it's revealed that the ancient Babylonians were linked to genies, aliens by descent. Albeit a somewhat fragile link, at most. The mysterious beginnings of the Babylonians may not relate to all alien creatures in the Sonic universe. Moreover, the Black Arms, who are Shadow's predecessors, are usually depicted as a sinister collective consciousness with little resemblance to wish granters. The video also emphasizes Shadow obtaining wings in the upcoming game Sonic X Shadow Generations and connects it to ancient Babylonian tales. However, this is mere conjecture drawn from a short teaser clip we have seen so far. Plus, it's called Doom Powers, as it is seemingly coming from Black Doom's DNA side, nothing with the Babylonians, who are not related to Black Doom. Even then, we lack information about the significance of these wings' symbolism. Equating them to evidence of Shadow's genie lineage is premature. Lastly, in the video, it is mentioned that Shadow's genie narrative was probably changed due to his alien background being introduced. However, it suggests that, as per the rules of the Sonic universe, Shadow being an alien doesn't necessarily rule out his potential as a genie too. In my view, the Occam's razor theory fits better in this scenario. Shadow being a subject without any ties to genies is a more straightforward and coherent explanation compared to him embodying both traits of being an alien and a genie. The extraterrestrial background of Shadow the Hedgehog has been clearly defined since 2005. There is no suggestion in subsequent games that he is connected to genies in any way. The video offers a take on Shadow's character. However, the argument that he is a genie lacks strong supporting evidence when examined against the background lore of the games themselves. It seems likely that Shadow's narrative revolves around his struggles as an artificial alien hybrid coming to terms with his identity and purpose, rather than being a mystical wish-granting entity.